And go, Flacker.
You ready?
Here we go!
All right, everybody. Well, Aaron and Boat hit me up and wanted me to fill a little bit of time for Boatfest. So I wanted to do something a little special that you guys probably haven't done. So we are going to be looking at a very in-depth history of strawberry shortcake games. Well, I think there's a typo on. We'll go to the next slide here. Just kidding, we're looking at Friday the 13th. Oh, sorry, strawberry. It's just strawberry. Shortcake didn't do too well there. Okay. So for those of you who don't, if you haven't been following, if you don't follow TSI, the TeamSpeak regulars, Matt's here, Aaron's here, some of the other guys, they all do a Saturday night gaming stream. And so I started doing that for a while. One of the games that they play is Friday the 13th, and it's a really fun game. It's multiplayer. Everybody is a victim or potential victim except for one person who's Jason. There's a lot of chasing and running around. It's a pretty fun game. Unfortunately, earlier this month they sent out a message to everyone and said that they have lost the license to Friday the 13th. So even if you've purchased this game on Steam, I don't know what the original price was, $30, right?
Yeah, something like that.
But A, it has gone on sale immediately for $5, and B, after next year, it will no longer work. So even if you've bought it, you paid money for it, you have it on Steam, you have it on the PC, the game no longer will work because they have lost the license to the game. However, everybody in this room knows we don't have that problem because we don't have to deal with online streaming, online DRM. In my life, I've bought a couple dozen games and downloaded a few more. So, but as everybody in this room knows, we all own games that will last forever and ever. They're never going to go bad. So, we are going to talk about Friday the 13th for the Commodore 64, one of my favorite games of all time. It was released in 1986 by Domark Limited. It is a one-player game that uses joystick controls. A little bit about Domark. Domark was founded in 1984 by two people, Dominic Wheatley and Mark Straken. When I've said Domark my entire life, then when I found out one of the guys' name was Dominic, I thought maybe I've been saying it wrong. Maybe it is Domark. I looked it up. I found someone online who said it is Domark. So I did eventually find an interview, and they say Domark. So now I have officially put Domark in my list of words with modem, which most of you know stands for modulate, demodulate, so it should be modim, but we all say modem. And all those people that used to say they were sysops, who I would have to say you're a system operator. No, so Domark had a history of publishing games. They did not write their own games, but they branched out and had other people write their games. Their first official game was Eureka, and they wanted to make a splash, so they put a phone number at the end of the game, and if you beat the game, the phone number would appear, and you called, and the first person to beat the game won 25,000 pounds. So that was kind of what put them on the map. They used that money and said, hey, if we can do these games, maybe we can start getting licenses. So they reached out and they got the license for A View to a Kill. They made that, and then that sold. And then they got the license to Trivial Pursuit. Now, they didn't actually have that license originally, but the people who had it said it cannot be made into a computer game. There's just not enough storage to put all the questions. So they said, yes, it can. And so they made Trivial Pursuit and sold around 2 million copies. So that really made them enough money where they could start buying other licenses. So there is a story where Dominic was at a computer at a trade show and ran into an employee from Atari, found out that they were doing licensing games, and said, we want to give you the licenses for all Atari coin-op games. And he showed him the price, and he said, we cannot afford that. So instead he said, well, we do have these coin-op games for Star Wars. So Domark, I'm sure you've seen the re-release of Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi. Those were all Domark releases. And then the money from that allowed them to make what I consider to be the greatest game of all time. This is just a little chart of what happened to Domark. Domark was around for about 10 years. They were about to file bankruptcy, and so they teamed up with a couple other companies and renamed themselves as Eidos, which would, if you thought Domark was hard to say, this is either EDOS, IDOS, anyway. So Eidos, they were around for about 10 years. Obviously did Tomb Raider, several other big games. They were purchased by SCI. There was a bidding war to purchase them. SCI paid $74 million for Eidos, and then they had them for not too long, and Square Enix bought SCI's licenses, and I think they paid $300 million for that. So bigger fishes came in. This is the cassette cover for Friday the 13th. This was at a time where, especially in the UK, you could get your game banned from stores if it was too bloody or too violent. So they went subtle with the knife in the eye here and the giant pool of blood here. Now, there were actually stores that would not carry this, and so there is another alternate version of the cover that's just missing the knife. Everything else is exactly the same. There's also some text over here that tells you some different things. One of them, it says, for the optimal gameplay, turn the lights out and make sure Granny is not in the room. So there's some advice from the game. They doubled down. According to the trivia that's online, this was the only mass-produced cartridge game that was done in a red cartridge. I'm not sure that that's really true, but they wanted to have this entire theme. Also, and this is a game that obviously would have been marketed to game-playing teenagers, they included blood capsules in the card. So this would be another fine thing. You know, you talk to your parents and go to the store, you get the game, you know, you're like, which one do you want? I want the one with the knife and the guy's eyeball. And then also you get the nice blood capsules to go with that. So they kind of doubled down on that. This is, again, the title screen. So they took the artwork from the cover. You got the blood, you got the bloody eyeball. There are 2 goals to the game. The first one is to kill Jason on every round, and then to kill Jason again. And so that's really what the game is about. In the game, you play camp counselors. And so the game pops up and shows you some of the different counselors here. You got this guy here with kind of the black lips, this dude. This is the odd one. This one kind of has some soulless, weird zombie eyes, and her head's kind of the wrong way.
Well, you should see a chiropractor.
Yeah, this one is like, this just makes me want to pop my neck when I see this one. Her eyes are kind of an optical illusion, like whether you think she's looking right or left or cross-eyed, like you just keep staring. She kind of like, she stares through your soul, and then she just kind of looks into it. And another funny thing is in the game, all the characters have different colored clothing, hair. None of it matches what's in this picture, which would not have been like a tough thing to do. Okay. For those of you that have not seen Friday the 13th movies, this is what Jason Voorhees looks like in Friday the 13th. That is how he appears in this game. This is the alternate wardrobe with no shoes and kind of no feet, really. The very trendy midriff showing shirt. I was never sure if his arms, if he was just walking like this for some reason, or if that's that, and then kind of that crazy dome. Now, I will give the Commodore a little bit of leeway, because this is how Jason appears in the Nintendo version, if you're not familiar with this, in the lavender shoes, the purple jumpsuit, and the lavender mask. So, I mean, we didn't necessarily own the rights to bad graphics of Jason, but yeah, it's not great. So, again, the purpose of the game is to go level through level and kill Jason. All the people that you're playing as are small children or teenagers. They are kids attending the camp or camp counselors. Jason is a 6.5 foot tall man who disguises himself as the children. So this would be kind of what you were not supposed to realize, that like this might be Jason. Okay. So here is kind of what the game looks like whenever you play. It is a 6x4 game area that wraps around, so you can keep going through screens. In the game, there are also 3 different buildings. The church, there's a house, there's a barn, and you can go in those, and those have either 3x3 or 2x2 section of rooms. There are 10 children, which you can see over here. There's already one tombstone here. And then obviously one Jason who is running around. Now down here you have some different things. On the far left, the girl with the blonde hair, that is the scarometer. So as the game gets more and more scary, which means as you've seen more dead bodies, or also we'll get into something you're not supposed to do, which is go around and kill other children. The scare meter goes up and your hair will continue to rise up. We also have, let's see over here, we have a timer, which is this that's your strength, the barbell that goes down. And the timer is Jason's mask that will slowly fill in over here. And then of course, you have the roster of kids and then whatever weapon. I've already found the chainsaw right here, which is a great thing to leave laid around the children's camp. Okay. There are also lots of different weapons laying around the children's camp that they have left. Those are missile weapons that you could throw. You'll find forks, hammers, hatchets, spears. And also, there's kind of an odd thing in this game where once you've picked something up, like if you pick up a fork, you can now throw unlimited forks. Then there's also the like melee type weapons, knives, pitchforks, staffs, machetes, axes, and the chainsaw, which by the way, the chainsaw is not really as good as it sounds. It just kind of looks like a giant key that you poke people with. The axe is actually the weapon to have. Now, as you play the game, these screens will randomly pop up at different times throughout the game. You have the guy getting hit in the head with the machete, and then you also have these skulls that will randomly pop up. Usually they're accompanied with a digitized scream that would appear, so you might be walking from one scene to the next. This just pops up, the game screams at you, and then it continues on. So, with all that great stuff about this game, why is this not considered by many people to be the greatest game of all time? First of all, there are some graphic glitches. Sometimes when you attack other people or you're getting hit, the graphics of the characters glitch. There's a lot of sprite collision problems. Sometimes you can get stuck on different things in the background. People will trap you. You can sometimes attack people through walls. Sometimes things move through walls. Not great. There's also this really weird revival glitch, which doesn't serve a lot of purpose, but it's kind of fun. Once you go around and find a dead body, if you get a weapon, you could just continually hit the dead body, and every time you hit them, they will sit up momentarily and go, ugh, like that. And their tombstone will turn back into the person. But if you do it enough times, there's some sort of number generator that rolls back around, and so you can actually revive someone by hitting them in the head 50 or 60 times with an axe, which is kind of a weird logic to follow. There's objects that glitch. Sometimes things come and go and disappear. There are sound glitches, and the sound glitches are even worse for some reason with most emulators. On the original 64, it sounded a little better, but a lot of emulators, the music's real scratchy. And then the biggest one down here is what we call the Jason reveal glitch. So in the game, Jason disguises himself as one of the camp counselors. If you hit one of the kids with any weapon, they will kind of recoil like that. But if it's Jason, the graphic will change to Jason, so you know that is Jason hiding as one of the kids. So as we played this as a kid, that's exactly how we played the game. You run around, you find everybody, you just hit everybody with an axe, and eventually one of them was Jason. And so then when you do that, you hit him multiple times with the axe, kill Jason, and it moves on. But it turns out that's really not supposed to be how the game works. There's a whole separate thing where there's a cross, and you can move the cross to the church, and then as you touch children, they will run to the church and stand there by the cross, but Jason won't, and so that's how you're supposed to figure out which character is Jason. You're not really supposed to run around and hit all the innocent children with an axe, but it's a way more fun way to play this game. Okay, so this, you may have to... So, we won't run through a lot of this, but I just want to show just a minute or two of the gameplay, what this is like. Of course, they have all the copyright stuff, saying that it's the rights of Paramount. This gives you the background. It tells you, that you are at the camp. Jason is waiting for you. Then it'll show, here's obviously our camp counselors. I forget which one. I think Garrett is who comes up. So he was the guy in the red shirt with the brown hair, but now he's the blonde hair and blue shirt. Again, would not have been tough to make those things match. So there's me walking around. I'm in the original version, you always start in the church. Now, a lot of the cracked copies that you download will start you in a random spot in the game. So in some versions, you don't always start in the church, but traditionally that's where you're supposed to start. So I think that was an axe laying around in the church. There's a lot of different music in this game, and it's all triggered by locations. So like when you go near the barn, it starts playing Old MacDonald. It plays Teddy Bear's Picnic whenever you go out into the field. There's me hitting people with a chainsaw for some reason in the church, no less. That's not really nice. But yeah, so this is a lot what the game is like. It's running around. And again, if you're playing it traditionally, what you would do is you would go find the crucifix, you go take it to the church, you put it here, and then you go touch the characters, and they go there and they stand there like frozen whenever they go find it. So that is one way to tell who's not Jason. The other one is just to start chainsawing people. Right, yeah. Which is, again, way more fun. Okay, see if you can. Okay, so you probably have to maybe hit stop on that from playing. And then move, or maybe hit down. Oh, there we go. So, what did magazines think of the world's greatest game? Well, Commodore Force gave it a 9% out of 100. Commodore User gave it a 1 out of 5 rating. Let's see. Zap gave it 13%, but a lot of times Zap will revisit games. And so the second time in 92, they came back and they gave it only 8%. Your Commodore did give it 7 out of 10. But that was a review of the budget release. So the reason that they rated it so high was they said because they had only paid $8 for the game. So Friday the 13th was pretty much destined to be forgotten until these guys came along. There were a couple of programmers and they worked under a name called Flandertainment. Obviously those are Flanders kids. And they took the entire original game, which was released in 1986, and rewrote more or less the entire game. They deconstructed all the code, they fixed all the problems, and they added dozens and dozens of new features to basically make it not only almost a different game, but a much, much better game. And they released it as Sunday the 15th. Not going to read this, but these are some of the changes that they made in the game. So they added random, there's problems with the random number generator. They fixed that. They made Jason faster. They changed the distance for hitting, all these different things. So they really went in and added it and made it a lot more fun game. These are also some of the bug fixes that were in the original if you purchased it, that they went in and fixed it. You can see there's a bug where if you throw a spear at a child, which is a strange sentence now that just came out of my mouth. If you throw it, it will have like do a certain amount of damage. But there's a bug where if you throw it and then drop the weapon, but it's still flying over there, it messes up the hit counter. So you can do like instant kills. So yeah. So if you listen to Sprite Castle, you know there's a part of the show where I talk about my childhood memories of playing games. So I never saw Friday the 13th for sale here in the US. Usually if you look online and see, it's mostly UK releases that you'll find, but it is a game that I got from downloading random games. And so this is, I should have introduced, this is my buddy Jeff. So if you guys listen to the stream and you see Steel Rat come in there that I'm always talking to, or if you've listened to Sprite Castle on almost every episode, I say, my buddy Jeff, this is Jeff. And so Jeff and I had my dad, when I was a kid, we had a TRS-80 Model 3. We sold that and moved to an Apple II. And then when I was around 6th grade, I started meeting people who had Commodore 64s. So I met Jeff in 7th grade. Not only did he have a Commodore 64, but he had a Commodore 64 in his bedroom, which I thought was the coolest thing. So I told my parents, I want a Commodore 64 in my bedroom. So we started downloading all these games, and one of the games that we found was Friday the 13th. Now, my parents didn't let us watch a lot of horror movies when I was younger. Jeff's mom, I think, probably encouraged us. Yes. I remember going to Jeff's house and going, I'm not sure I'm supposed to watch this movie. And so we got Friday the 13th. And so we started playing, go back for a second.
Sorry.
That's right. So we started playing the Friday the 13th, and then we started, because it had all these digital screens and things like that, we thought, how can we make this scarier? So, there you go, there's my memories. So what we decided to do was take this blanket and sit in front of the computer as close as we could, and take the blanket and wrap it over our heads and over the monitor. So it's just us in this little cave with the Commodore and this monitor. And of course, then the screams would, would scream, and we would kind of pretend to be scared. And it was kind of this fun thing. Apparently, and of course, it also says in the instructions you should turn the game volume up so that the screams will scare you. So as we were doing this, apparently we had it loud enough that Jeff's dad heard us, came in Jeff's bedroom as we were sitting here like two morons, huddled together with a blanket over us and over the monitor, and thought it would be funny to come up behind us and conk our heads together. So I can tell you I was sitting on the right, because I may still have a lump on this side over here. But we definitely spent a lot of time playing Friday the 13th. It was definitely one of those games that we would go back to over and over. If you want to own a copy of Friday the 13th, most of the ones you'll find are UK. It's not necessarily a cheap game. These are ones that sold. This one was $76. This one was $51 plus 30-something shipping, because you'd have to order it over there. And I don't know, those look complete, but I don't know if the blood capsules are still in there or if they would still be good at this point. Okay. And so, at the end of the show, I like to rate the games. So, Friday the 13th for graphics, 7 out of 7 bloody skulls. Look at this, look how great this game is. 7, you got digitized screams, you got music, 7 out of 7. Gameplay, I mean, really, it's just getting weapons and hacking up people all the time. 7 out of 7. I did not do that. Overall, 7 out of 7. Friday the 13th for Commodore 64 is a perfect game, and it gets a perfect score on Sprite Castle. Okay. So anyway, that is Friday the 13th. This is, I don't know if you can see this, these are links to website, Twitch, Twitter, all these things. If you want to find any of that, you can go to robohara.com/links, and it has all that. So, yes, sir.
What would you rate those individual ratings on the original version for a patch?
I mean, in some ways it's better because it's almost like a B movie, you know?
8 out of 7.
Yeah. So it might be eight machetes to the head out of 8. So I think it's even better than the patched one. So anyway, if you, obviously we've only got a few more hours here, but make sure that you make the rounds, play everything. If you want, maybe we'll get Friday the 13th running up over there on the SX64. So there you go. Sorry, next year strawberry shortcake. I'll get back around.